Good afternoon, and welcome to Jeff and the Rabbi. You know, Rabbi, I am so upset that I totally missed Pride Month this year, but I simply could not find anything tight enough to wear. Does this make me insensitive? Am I a Neanderthalic, closed-minded simpleton because I don't have a rainbow flag bumper sticker on my Prius? Am I the only man left in the U.S. that hasn't cried watching Brokeback Mountain, still laughs out loud at Corporal Klinger and Drag on old MASH reruns, and doesn't know that you can't wear Christian Louboutin stilettos with your casual romper? It's true, you can't. You can't do it. Now,
Way behind.
you are definitely
I'm
behind.
So far behind.
You got the Corporal Klinger thing, though.
Yeah.
Now, I am as woke as the next guy, as long as that guy is further right than Ted Cruz at Bible camp, but I just don't see the benefits of forcing all people into a category of normal. Everything can't qualify as normal, or the world, or there would be no real diversity in the world. Now, Judaism rejects homosexuality as the normal course of behavior. It is pretty clearly written in the Torah to reject this type of lifestyle. There are a lot of things that the Torah tells us to do and not do, but it doesn't always give us the reasons. We are told not to eat bacon cheeseburgers and jumbo shrimp cocktails, but we were never actually told why not. It's a bit different with homosexuality. God created humans originally with man and woman as one. He then took part of Adam away, and with that he created a separate woman, Eve. This was so that man and woman could find each other and learn to know each other for the rest of their lives. Man already knows man. How could they get to know their mate if they both have Cher's greatest hits CD? If they both have Cher's, If they both have Cher's greatest hits in their 8-track collection. If both partners love to watch RuPaul's Drag Race on Bravo, how will they ever learn the rules of fighting over the remote? Men and women are different. Getting to know each other is God's purpose of marriage. So my opinion is that God doesn't reject gay people. He just rejects homosexuality as the normal course of living in society. It defeats his purpose of man finding a mate of the opposite sex and learning to know and grow together. So don't be afraid to show your pride, but being proud doesn't mean that you have to be normal. Heck, if everyone was normal, we could eventually have straight male figure skaters. Then what? And with that, let's see what the rabbi thinks about all this. And by the way, I did check the rabbi's 80s mixtape collection, and not a George Michael song among them.
Wow. That's a lot of references that, it makes me older and older every day.
You got the Corporal Klinger.
Yeah, right. Right, wow. Okay. So where do we go with this, right? Here's the big deal that I think one of the big arguments in society, when it was still being argued about, that was like 5 years ago.
Right.
Because like this whole upheaval in society took place over a very short period of time,
Right.
relatively speaking, for a very fundamental issue. Things turned around very fast. But one of the big issues is how could it be wrong? I mean, if we love each other, we have a real relationship, how could this be wrong? So I'd like to really dig into that because the Torah says it's wrong, but that doesn't mean that people don't necessarily love each other, are not attracted to each other, and maybe get along wonderfully together, and maybe even get along better, and I would actually propose perhaps get along better than even heterosexual couples, perhaps.
It could be.
Right. But nonetheless, the Torah still prohibits it. So it behooves us to understand why does the Torah prohibit homosexuality when the rest of the world, the Torah is clearly now at this point totally out of sync with all of society. Completely missing
It's
the boat.
hard to be totally out of sync with society these days.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so now let's just start off with this. The Torah never prohibits eating dirt.
Nope.
Torah does not prohibit eating dirt, right? If you wanted to eat dirt, you could eat dirt, but probably you don't want to eat dirt because most people I know just don't eat dirt. So one of the things we know about the Torah is that the Torah doesn't take things that people don't want to do and say you can't do them.
Okay.
The starting point is that the Torah says, takes things that you do want to do and say you can't do them. Now, the Torah isn't just doing this because it likes to find things that people like to do and say you can't do it. That's not what's going on. But there are things that people would normally like to do had God not ever intervened in human being, kind life, and said, this is the way I want you to act. When he says, this is the way I want you to act, meaning there is a reason why this otherwise attractive idea, concept, action cannot be done. Okay?
All right.
Now, that's step one. So therefore, the fact that homosexuality is attractive, yeah. People call it unnatural, the preacher gets on this unnatural. Okay, well, it may be more natural than he thinks. Still prohibited.
Right.
Still prohibited. But I don't know about unnatural. Matter of fact, it was so unnatural, why would the Torah prohibit it? Why would people want to do it?
Right.
The fact that so many people want to do it sounds like it perhaps is a little bit more natural than we think. And it's been around for a long time. Recall Abraham and his nephew Lot, and Lot moved from Abraham, living with Abraham, to the city of Sodom.
Right, so yeah.
Right, and they didn't call it Sodom for nothing.
Okay, I
Right.
gotcha.
Right?
Ah.
Okay, so it's been around for a long time. There's nothing new under the sun.
Now, by the way, were they not doing this in Gomorrah? Why don't they call it Gomorrah?
Yeah, right.
That always bothers me every time we have this
Yeah,
discussion.
it's too long.
Oh,
It's too long,
very
right?
nice.
Okay, so the the idea here brings us back to something we've talked about before. Why are there men and why are there women? Why did God create two different sexes? And as a matter of fact, then it says in the Torah, therefore, a man will leave his mother and father and find a woman and cling to her, and they will become one. That's what the Torah says after he creates Eve. And there's a whole long story, and Eve, and he takes her to the side and all that. So he takes Eve from Adam's side, he makes her into a separate being, and then he wants to put them back together. This is a really important exercise that God goes through. And it's a really important exercise for each and every one of us to go to. And it is the exercise that the homosexual will fail in, because the homosexual is sidestepping this very important exercise. You see, God really wants us to get outside of ourselves. Ultimately, God wants us to know Him. That means He's got to get me out of me so I can know Him. The way that He really gets me out of me is to get me to go connect to someone and something that is out of me.
Right.
But He wants me to become like one with that thing. So He wants me to go to something that's out of me and then become at one with it. Actually, God says that would really be too hard to take two things that are totally not matched, the rhinoceros and the giraffe, and expect that they could somehow become one. That's ridiculous. But He can take two parts that were once a whole, separate them so they're separate entities, and then see if we can bring them back together. And in the process, you get outside of yourself. Now, what's the deal with husband and wife, man and woman, as opposed to a homosexual relationship? So in a homosexual relationship, a man innately understands how a man feels. Emotionally, physically, right? He knows what feels good and what hurts. Now, people vary. They're different people. And something might insult you and it doesn't insult me, or hurt you and it doesn't.
Right.
You might have a certain sensitivity, but by and large, I can pretty much judge what feels good to you. You're a man.
Right.
I know men. I'm a man. So I know what men like and I know what men don't like generally. Not specifically, but generally.
Right.
But I don't know women at all.
Now I know women.
Yeah, right. I don't know women at all. At all. As a matter of fact, the more I know them, the less I know them. Okay?
All right, I get
So
that.
I don't know what feels good and what doesn't. And I'm talking about physically, emotionally, mentally, in all ways, shape, and forms. I don't really know. And as I'm always being reminded how, like, insensitive and brutish I am. And it's always a surprise to me. Right?
Because you think you're doing everything right.
Right. It's always such a surprise. And like, as I've been married for many, many years, and I say to my wife, like, how come you're still surprised?
Right. Like maybe the problem lies with her. She's still surprised.
Why are you still surprised?
Right.
Okay, I get it. We all know that I don't get it, but like, why does it still surprise you that I don't get it? Okay, so therefore, if a person is going to enter into a relationship with some other, like a man entering into a relationship with a woman, or a woman entering a relationship with a man, she's really going into like deep water. Right. You don't know what's going on over there. Like, you're going to be together with this person and you don't really know how they feel. So that requires a lot of communication, a lot of sharing, a lot of developing of sensitivities, and many times you'll get to the point where, my wife just doesn't like that. I don't know why she doesn't like it, but she doesn't like that, okay? And I learned that. If I was inside of her, I could maybe understand it better, but I'm not. Right. But I develop sensitivities, and she develops sensitivities. My husband likes this, he doesn't like that. This feels good, this feels bad. And again, it's in all areas. It's not physical, but it's emotional, it's everything.
Right.
I can understand quite readily why a person would find that very scary. It's a big challenge. Why would you want to attach yourself to something that you don't really understand? It's so scary. You never know. Am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the wrong thing? Am I hurting you? Am I not hurting you? What you really want to do is want to get someone that you really know and really understand.
Right.
And that's the one you want to get close to, because that's safer. That's more comfortable. Right. That maybe even feels better because the two people of the same sex know better how to make each other feel better than the two people of the opposite sex. So it's a lot more comfortable relationship, and maybe even more pleasurable relationship, because the sensitivity that exists, the knowledge that exists, is already innate in the person. As a matter of fact, it seems as though before the Torah that incestuous relationships were also part of the Torah. Incestuous people used to marry in their family. They would stay close in the family. It was only after the Torah came along that God said you can't have incestuous relationships either. I understand why people wanted to stay in the family. They want to stay in the family because I know her. She's my sister. He's my brother. I know what she likes. I know what he likes. We were raised in the same environment. We had the same parents. We understand each other.
Right. That's still goes on in Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. So I know what you mean.
That's right. There you go. Right. So those things, though, the Torah prohibited. Why? Because the Torah says, now we're going to take the next step. It's time for you to get out of yourself. Get outside.
Right.
Break out. Find something new. Don't just stay where it's safe. We're going to prohibit relationships where it's safe and force you to get out into other relationships where if you can get a husband and a wife and they can really become as one and become a real unit and join together and really feel that there's no barrier between them, you've accomplished a tremendous thing. Each of them has grown tremendously, whereas the growth is not there if you stay within your own.
Well, that's interesting. I can hear what other people today would say. Well, gosh, maybe we're progressing further than people were years ago. Now we're with each other. We know each other. That's maybe better. Isn't that the ingredient for a perfect relationship? We know each other.
Yeah,
already.
What you mean, like a man and a man?
Right. Maybe that's what they're saying.
Right. Of course, they know each other already, but they missed the exercise of getting outside of themselves.
You mean things aren't always as easy as they appear. Sometimes the tough and difficult path is the better path.
Why would you want to learn a skill that you already know?
That's true.
This is like all the
a lot of
the
kids that are like, I don't have to work as hard. I am right there. You know what I'm doing.
The kids that I know grew up with who went to Jewish schools,
Right.
and they went to Hebrew school. So when they got to college, they all took Hebrew. That's easy. Yeah,
That's a good
I
point,
know.
though.
It's already. So they take Hebrew. But what's the point? I mean, yeah, okay, it's easy.
Easy.
It's easy,
But
and
I
you
guess
get some.
you didn't grow there, though, did you?
You didn't get anything out of it. You paid money. You got.
Right.
It's almost like free credits.
Right.
But you didn't get anything from it. You didn't gain anything. You didn't go anywhere. You didn't accomplish anything. There was nothing new learned. That's the issue. And that's the problem with the homosexual relationship is the easy relationship.
Yeah.
Because you know it, you understand it. Of course they can make each other feel good. They know intimately, they know who they are. A man knows a man, a woman knows a woman.
So that maybe means something. The Torah says that a man goes out and he knows his wife.
Yes.
That's actually
That's what it means. Therefore a man should leave his mother and his father. He knows mother and father.
Right,
That's
right.
what he was raised in. That's where he came from. And cling to his wife, and they shall become as one. And it says over and over, and Adam knew his wife.
Right.
The whole idea is to get to know another. And by the way, once you get to know another, then you're open to the whole world. Then you can go out and do and give and help and be sensitive. But if you don't get outside yourself, you never develop sensitivities for others.
Oh, that's interesting. Now, here's one quick question: has any man in the 3,000 years since the Torah has been written actually completely known his wife and figured it all out? Is there? I mean, Rashi, somebody like big out there? Has it happened?
I believe that there are people that have done that.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, there are people who have done it, and there are people who have done it at times. At times,
Right.
times is also good here and there.
Right. I get, that's all I can. But it's an interesting thing. But we have a world today where, I mean, obviously what you've just said, and by the way, I take no association with Rabbi here, is politically incorrect. I mean,
Yeah,
I mean that would be offensive to people. Why? How can you choose this life? So I understand what you're saying about the growth, but they would say, look, our marriages are stronger. They're probably, since there hasn't been
maybe
gay
they are.
marriages that many, they probably last longer.
Maybe they are. And you know what? I know lots of championship teams that will tell you that the bond I have with this group of guys or this group of women, the bond is tremendous. And I know, I don't even have to look. I know 1, 2, pass, he's there,
Right,
we're in sync,
right.
we are thinking together, the guy is blocking, the team is moving, it's choreographed, I can, he throws her up in the air, she's there to be caught by the teammate, whatever it is, everyone is beautiful, it's wonderful. And it's tremendous capacity, mostly to be able to be done by groups of people, and they can develop. They tremendously rely on each other, brothers, comrades at arms. I'd give my life for them. All that stuff. What's wrong with it? It's great.
Right.
There is, however, the way God wants a person to use their sexual intimacy is in a way to help them create a bond with something that's totally outside themselves and actually foreign to themselves, and to become as one, the two complementary parts. Because actually what they find out, the two complementary parts, is that they are complementary. The two parts find that, wow, there's something that's not me that makes me whole.
Right. Okay.
Kind of like having part of you missing and then rejoined.
Bringing it back together.
Not
Wow.
more of me,
Right.
but something that's outside of me that I was actually missing, and now I have that.
Wow. So I guess the question that a lot of people actually would ask now is, well, so if this is the case, then why would God make so many people feel so differently? Why would they make them feel like this is my partner, this is my mate? Are they deformed? Are they messed up? Did something go wrong?
No, very common. Very, very common.
So what should they do?
I'm sorry, at some point you have to use some pejorative word, but it's very common that people would be afraid to take on, especially in our generation, where we now live in a very narcissistic generation which wants only security. It's all about buying insurance policies.
Right.
And it's all about, I should always be protected from ever getting hurt. That is the number one goal of our society. No matter what, someone should have to pay me if I ever get hurt. Someone should have to pay me for that. No matter what, If I don't understand the topic in college, it's the professor's problem. Someone should have taught me better. It's my parents messed me up. It's someone, and I should be protected at all times. If a flood came along, government should put me back together again. If I don't have a living, the government should provide it. If I health, the government must. Everyone must provide everything for everyone at all
You
times.
sound like Elizabeth Warren. You're scaring me here a little bit.
Right. And if that's the type of life that you live in,
Right.
then you don't take a lot of risks. You don't go out, you don't get out of yourself. It's really all about you. So it would only make sense that people will find in increasing numbers homosexual relationships to be the ones that are more comfortable, the ones that are more secure and stable, where they don't have to get outside themselves and actually get together with this other person who I don't understand. I don't understand you. How are you thinking? Who are you? What are you? That's really scary. That's the challenge. That's what the Torah wants us to do. And that's what the Torah says. It's an abomination if you use this tool, which is really used to reach outside of yourself and bring yourself together with another, and instead you just use it to just complement yourself, then that's a waste.
It sounds, and so even if, sometimes you have to, again, listen, I know that's how I feel, but this is right, and that's what you're supposed to do?
Yeah. So I might be attracted to this person of the same sex. Well, yeah, because it's safe. Why are you attracted? Down deep, because that's a safer route. Torah's asking you to be bold. Torah's asking you to step beyond that. So now, you say, well, but I don't feel that way. You know what? Torah asks you a lot of times to feel differently.
That's interesting. Very interesting. I'm a little nervous. I'm about to go and watch a war movie or a manly movie now. Make myself feel better. I can keep my, not that I have any problem with my masculinity, but with all this explanation here. Interesting, and it's an interesting take on it. It's not like these people are wrong or messed up or whatever. It's just, you're you. Get outside yourself.
People are actually acting very naturally, because God says, no, that's not what it's all about. You're really being narrow and childish about it. Get out of yourself. Do something great with yourself. And especially when God created, as you can see from sexuality, where God created the organs that are actually complementary to each other.
Right.
So that shows you, just like the organs are complementary to each other, the people are complementary to each other, and therefore you accomplish something by joining two parts together. And like any ever try to repair something. Right. You need the part that the other part fits into. You don't need two of the same part. They're not going to get you anywhere.
Not going to work. Wow. Interesting conversation. I think get outside of yourself. Maybe give heterosexuality a try. Get outside yourself. It makes more sense.
Yeah.